Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
And Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie and I'm joined with my lovely co-host Amrita and Sujoy. Hey Amrita, hey Sujoy.
What's up, people?
Hello.
Glad to have you back, Sujoy. We missed you.
Oh, thank you very much.
We didn't get to hear your thoughts on Tiger, actually. Now that we're recording, I should have probably discussed this. We haven't really talked about Tiger thing. But I also feel like the conversation is done. No?
Yeah. जिनको देखना था उन्होंने देख लिया, जिनको नहीं देखना था वो नहीं देखेंगे, and everybody is like okay with whatever's happening after that. Like even YRF has moved on.
No, they haven't. They're sending out Kareena and Salman for interviews now after the movie is released. Like I'm seeing Salman quotes and Kareena interviews everywhere now. So I was like, "Ye kaun si strategy hai?" You know, and also I can't figure out if this movie is a hit or a complete flop. Like I don't understand. Like it made a ton of money, but everybody seems very subdued about it. No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird for a Bhai movie to be like, it's doing the numbers. It's not a small movie by any margin, any like measure. And they even had the celebration, but Bhai seems to be so like overhit. I think that's the whole sentiment that's, spread out across the fandom as well. If Bhai was a bit gung-ho about it, like, ye meri picture achhi gayi hai, then probably people would have been happier about it. But I think because he's so omnipresent on Indian TV, I think that's the whole thing. Like the Big Boss is eating up into the Bhai fandom, and I think Salman should. I mean, obviously, it's a steady paycheck for him, an easy paycheck. So I'm not sure.
But it's also the thing where he says, I'm the only star you call a movie a flop even when it does 400 crores, right? So that's the other thing with him. And it has made, like, I'm getting the Yash Raj emails every other week about how much money it's making. So it's making a lot of money. But yeah, something seems kind of subdued about it. And it's also confusing with Shah Rukh fans because they're like, agar hit hai, then it's because we bought the tickets to see Shah Rukh. Agar flop hai, then Bhai can't open a movie. So it's like, guys, pick a lane here. You know, like, what are you doing? So it's just been an interesting few days. But yeah, we have a ton of things we want to talk about. Let's start with the Animal trailer first, maybe. There's a lot of conversation already going around on Twitter. Like, that's what I was going to say. Like, there are so many hot takes already. Do we want to add another hot take here? I want to go maybe to Amrita first. Amrita, what did you think of the Animal trailer?
I mean, the movie's going to come out this Friday. Like, you're going to listen to this episode and then 2 days later, the movie's going to come out. And everyone seems to have already made up their mind. It's like, either going to be phenomenal or it's going to be absolute garbage. There's nothing in the middle, right? But I think there are some things that we know for sure from watching the trailer, which is that Ranbir is back, like he's acting again. Like it's been a bit disappointing this year. I mean, he's obviously always good when he's on screen. But it's been a little bit thanda over the year with Shamshera and Brahmastra and Tu Jhooti Main Makkar. And in this one, it looks like he's all cylinders firing again. And also, it seems like a very Sandeep Reddy Vanga movie, which is very definitely not my thing. But I will be going to watch it. Like I'm absolutely there to like see what Ranbir is going to do with this character.
Can I also just say, like, I personally have no problem seeing a problematic character on screen. Like,
Sure.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I've watched Godfather, I've watched, Raging Bull, like Taxi Driver, anything you want to go through, right? Like, I don't have a problem with that. But I do find it interesting already, those questions are coming up and Ranveer is answering them, and he's so much smarter in the way he answers them than Shahid Kapoor ever was. There's a level of talking about cinema and connect with the audience that he has that Shahid never had. So I think he's already said that this guy is despicable. So he
Yeah.
knows what's coming, So he knows what the hot takes are going to be. Sujoy, what did you think of? Oh, sorry.
I think the problem with a Sandeep Reddy Vanga film is that I don't think Sandeep Reddy Vanga knows that his protagonists are despicable.
No,
I
absolutely. He
think
thinks they're heroes. I think this is how.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. He's convinced that they're wonderful, and I think like all the subtext is absolutely psychological and unconscious. Like I don't think any of the subtext in Kabir Singh was meant as subtext, and I think it's going to be the same for this film as well.
I think Sandeep Reddy Vanga is just a fascist. Like I was looking at the trailer, and I think he's a fascist. Like like there people like Rohit Shetty has fascistic tendencies, right? Like
Yeah.
certain people lean towards that, and I get that. Like, and I think Sandeep Reddy Vanga is that kind of guy. Like literally, there's uh, Nazi symbolism. Not to say that swastika is a Nazi symbol. I'm not saying that, but the way the hand goes up, the way it's shot, it's very, Lenny Riefenstahl, like we know, if you know cinema, you know where it's kind of coming from, right? And also just the approach of, might is right is basically fascism, right? And I'll have a bit further thoughts about it when we get into some of the movies we watch. But Sujoy, what did you think of the trailer?
I think like the trailer is brilliantly cut. I think they have somehow managed to skirt through telling what this movie is going to be about, but without telling much. Also, and also, I was quite surprised to see Tripti Dimri in it. I did not
Yes.
expect. I did not know that she was included in the cast, and like I absolutely love her work, and I'll be interested to see what Tripti Dimri is doing in here. Lovely to see more of Lord Bobby in this, and what that dynamic is all going to be about. Some complaints about Rashmika's dialogue being not so audible, and that sound mixing, and what she's meant to be speaking when that confrontation is happening, saying तुम्हारा बाप के साथ जो जोग है वो रोग है or something like that, and then it's very inaudible. And then there's Shakti Kapoor, Prem Chopra involved in this, so I'm quite interested what this rogue gallery is doing here. And the whole dynamic between Anil Kapoor and Ranbir is quite fascinating. It does, like with the long hair and stuff. It definitely reminded me more of like this could have been the Sanju movie that Sanju was trying to be, because he looks really hefty in this. Like me and Asim are going Friday for show, right? And I'm definitely excited for what this movie is trying to say, especially because Ranbir is involved rather than what Reddy Vanga is trying to say.
I don't understand the problem people have with Rashmika Madan. Like, I'm seeing a lot of tweets about it, and I don't understand. Is it just her accent that people don't like? Because I love
No,
an accent.
the sound mixing of this movie, the dialogue isn't audible enough. So I think it's the whole Bane problem, like when the Christopher Nolan movie was released.
Well, Rashmika also has a very dedicated like haters on the internet because she was dating this one guy that she met in her debut movie. It was like like an up and coming star in Kannada film industry, and then she broke up with him, and now she's dating Vijay Deverakonda or whatever. So everybody's just like, oh, like how dare she,
How
like
dare she make
like
choices?
Yeah, this whole country is all Raja Hindustanis.
No, I was thinking, like people just like to see a woman in the position of Sami Mere Sami, but they don't like it when she's like standing up. Maybe that's the reason. I didn't understand what was going on. Can I just give a shout out also to two things in the trailer? I love the trailer, by the way. I thought it was amazing. The old boy references are a bit heavy handed. Like, I feel like it's a lot, but chalo, a lot of the audience probably hasn't seen old boy, I think. Anil Kapoor, man. He has literally one word to say, Papa, Papa, but he delivers it so well. Like, he literally becomes a small child the way he says, Papa. Like, I don't understand this man, how good he is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about, the Behra Nahi Hu Main, the dialogue that Ranbir does, and he does it excellently. Ranbir is amazing. But Papa, Papa, man, there's like so much pain and like doubt and fear in that voice. It's so good. And the background score, like it's like powerful, right? Like whatever that whistle is or whatever in the background that's going on, and then the Punjabi, like, I don't know what, like the theme, like a war anthem that's going on. Like it's really, really cool. I think all of those vibes really well done. Like and that's the danger in a way with fascistic cinema, right? It makes it look cool. Like, like I remember, like, there was a book I was reading ages ago where it was a Belgian writer, and he's a very kind of like proto Bret Easton Ellis kind of writer. Like, he writes in a very way that is supposed to like annoy you. And he had this whole chapter about how Nazis looked super cool because all of the designs were by Hugo Boss, like that kind of thing. And it's true, like the Gestapo uniforms look cool as right? Like, they look cool, but that's the thing fascism does, right? So same thing with Animal. Like, it looks really, really cool. Like, everybody looks cool. He's on his bike, long hair, cigarette out, and then he's choking a woman, like that kind of thing. So let's see Friday what's gonna happen when we get to see this. Second song that literally dropped, was Dunki's second song, Lut Put Gaya. And I think, Amrita, you have not stopped doing the dance steps since it came out.
I have to say it's a lot better than I expected it to be. Because it's very definitely, I mean, you can't get away from this. Like, we say this all the time, that every song that you see these days, it's meant for TikTok or for Insta Reels, I guess. And this obviously is meant for that, but it is less obvious than some of the other hook steps that we've seen in the recent past. A lot of people seem to be talking about how this is a return to what they call 90s music, but they actually mean like early 2000s music. Because, guys, Rab Ne Bana Di Jodi was not from the 90s. Like, I'm sorry, but you guys need to do a better job of figuring out what time is. But I don't really see that, except that, yes, in Hole Hole, like, he does do the little like market walk thing. But apart from that, I don't really see the parallels as such, because I think like this song, it has a lot of layers to it. And like all Raju Hirani songs, like, we're going to find out more about it in the film. But the filter, like, they seem to have done a better job of it now. Like, I know I sent out like a complaining tweet a couple of weeks ago, and I don't want to say that it's because of me, but I'm just saying that if
That is because of you.
Yes, it is because of me.
whatever you're doing, Amrita, keep doing it. It's working.
Like, RCE and Shah Rukh are clearly paying a lot of attention to what I think. And I just want to give them like a pat on the back for doing better than before. If we must have the filter, then this is possibly the best version of the filter that we can get. And, like, Tapsi and he don't look terrible together. So I guess like that's what I can say.
Okay. I was gonna ask you about Tapsi, like how you find that. Like, I'm not like sold on that. Like, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I know Shah Rukh can romance everybody, but I don't know if Tapsi wants to be romanced on screen like this. Sujay, man, what did you think?
It's a lovely song. I like Shah Rukh dancing. Like he's 57 and he's doing all these steps. I can't climb up the stairs without breathing like it's my last breath. Like this man is a natural miracle. Like I don't know. I feel very very warm in my heart to see Shah Rukh dancing like this. I much prefer this to like Chalaya probably. But one thing I have noticed is that why does this movie look so ugly? And I just checked on IMDb. It has three cinematographers. Three, not one, not two, not three cinematographers. And even with three people working behind the camera, this movie looks ugly. I don't know why. I can't
I
tell.
think it's
Like
just because they're waving the American and British flag behind, and that's
yes, yes. I am very offended by the Brexit and Brexit, man. And that's what it reminds me of.
I the thing I like about the song that it's how loosey goosey it is compared to Pathan and Jawan, which is all very tight, very stylized. This is just jumping around in a field, and that I appreciate that loosey casualness of it. The song reminds me of that song "This Land Is Your Land" by Woody Guthrie. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It just like I have this thing is that to put together, that the same tune, and I don't know if there's like because Pritam is a notorious copier of songs, but maybe it's not being necessarily copied, but because it's about going to America and that song, there's some layering going on there, but it just made me realize it, and I just wanted to say it because our audience is so young they might not know that song. So I was like, maybe that's the thing. The other thing, he's just making us bald people jealous now with that hair. Now that's what's going on. Like what is this? Like,
Yeah.
like just like all in my face now. Not good.
But I do want to say one thing for all the Shah Rukh girlies out there and guys. But there's this, he's like, this is like the Shah Rukh body that I like because like I don't like the super like 8-pack abs Shah Rukh. Like that's not like I always want to just feed him a sandwich.
In other words, you hate Farah Khan.
Yes, basically. But in this one, like, he looks like a normal human being. He's like normal sized. And then there's this Akhada scene where, he's in a gunji and you see his arms and you're just like, oh, he does have muscle, but it's not like, giant, like ridiculous muscle. And it's just, it's just perfect. I just want to say.
It's called a sleeper build, Amrita, because maybe
Oh.
that's what it's called, a sleeper build. It's like you take off the hoodie and then the six pack is still there.
Oh. Ask him with the technical terms.
I've got the hoodie bit covered. I'll do six pack.
Sleep hoodie, man. Yeah, like, that's right.
Step one.
You're halfway there, halfway there.
Elements are like we have the hoodie, we've done our sleeping, was building ready.
बहुत sleeping किया मैंने.
Sleeping part is locked down. Cool. Let's talk about a few of the things that we watched this week. Although people have been asking Amrita to watch Coffee with Karan, she is refusing to.
I refuse. Refuse.
But Sujoy and I, like good boys, have been watching Coffee with Karan. There were 2 episodes. One with Alia and Bebo, and then the one with Varun and Siddharth. I think, Amrita, is it one of the reasons that you maybe are less interested, and maybe I was thinking about this, is that they're not promoting anything. It's just like, there's no movie, there's no, but although I feel the last season was all promotion, and that was annoying too. Maybe it's just a state that we're never really happy with this, or we've grown out of the format. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know why I'm so disinterested, but it just feels like what am I gonna get out of a episode with Siddharth and Varun, who are like two of the most boring people in Bollywood, who are just like polished and like PR trained to the point where they will never say anything controversial ever. At least with Ranveer and Deepika, I know that Ranveer is there and going to somehow put his foot in it. And I know there's going to be some sort of entertainment. And that's why I watched that particular episode. And it was entertaining. And it was, to me, it was entertaining. And it was just interesting to see them have these really vulnerable moments together. But between Kareena and Alia, I knew that Kareena was going to eat up Alia. There's no there's no version of that interview in which Alia does not get eaten up by Kareena Kapoor Khan. Like Kareena is Kareena. Like we know who she is. We've had like 23 years of Kareena being like a star. We know what it was going to be like, and all the clips that I've seen so far, I mean, it's exactly what I thought it would be because Alia's just trying really hard. It's like watching a little child try and keep up with, her idol, and it really doesn't work. And I like Alia. Like I'm not even like an Alia hater. And with Varun and Siddharth, I mean, like, sure, like I'm glad they had like a lot of people seem to have enjoyed the episode, which I'm glad for them. But I don't care what they were doing as ADs on My Name Is Khan. Like, I genuinely have no interest whatsoever in either one of them.
Actually, we also had the Sara and Ananya one. I don't think we ever talked about that one either, right?
See,
So there
that's
were,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
Nobody
there were actually
cares.
3 episodes that we missed out. Yeah. Did you watch the Sara and Ananya one, Surya?
I don't remember watching that.
See, you probably did watch it, but you
Yeah.
can't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I actually did watch it too because I feel I don't know which we were talking about Ananya the last time, and I felt I was a bit mean. Like I was being a bit dismissive for no good reason. So I was like, I'll give it a chance. I'll watch what she's talking about on this episode. And I like Sara. You guys know I like Sara Ali Khan. But that was not an episode for me. It was basically being stuck with high school girls on a bus, and you just have to listen to the conversation because they're so loud, and your podcast is not going that high because you got the warning on your iPhone that you have too much audio exposure, so you have to put the volume down. This is a very specific scenario I'm talking about. Yeah, that was not the thing. Is that both for Sara and Alia, they just don't have enough work to back up appearance on the show, right? So they're just
Yeah.
talking about dating and stuff like that. So for me, it's not interesting. Maybe it is for other people. But what did you think, Sujoy, of the Bebo Alia and the Varun Siddharth episode, or whichever you want to talk more about?
I think I remember more of Alia and Kareena's episode rather than Siddharth and Varun, mostly because it's Kareena. And you said about her eating up Alia. Kareena ate up Karan even on the
Yeah,
episode,
she's so watchable. She's so
Yeah.
watchable.
So Karan at one point blames her for being very dismissive and boring on the episode, and she replies, maybe you were snoozing me
Yeah.
out. Like, burn and savage. It was fun to watch her like completely roast Karan like that, and she knows like Karan keeps on poking her to get all the juicy details because Kareena keeps a tab on everything in the that runs in the industry, and she knows not to spill out the beans on a public show like this. So she's like very poised and like, I'm not gonna fall for that bait. So it was fun to watch that sort of dynamic. And she doesn't have anything to prove. I think one of the fun things that happened on the show was both Karan and Alia were trying to make fun of her by doing Main Prem Ki Diwani Hu, and Kareena was like, "No, don't bring that up." It's just like that's in the past. I don't even
And
watch my own movies
Khushi was the other
and
one.
Khushi, yeah.
Yeah.
And Alia was like, Khushi is my favorite movie. Like, yeah, whatever, girl. Yeah.
There was one. They had this new question in there, Amrita, and this is funny. Like it was called Vibe Check. It was kind of like an audience poll of what the audience think that these women would do, like in a certain example. Like if Kareena
That
would be doing.
that is not what a vibe check
No,
is. Like
absolutely
what?
not. But yeah, Karan read that word somewhere and he wanted to use it. But anyway, so they give, so it's like a question and there's four options, and the audience should answer thinking that they are Kareena. And it is so funny because Kareena has no idea at all what the audience thinks of her. Like she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna answer this, I'm gonna do this and that, and that's what they probably think. And it's the lowest answered answer. It is hilarious. She has no connect with the common people, and it makes
Yeah.
that's why she's a queen of cinema. She doesn't know all these. All of us are, at her feet, and she gets it. Like it has no interest whatsoever. It was hilarious to see. And literally, Alia cannot tell one story that did not get interrupted by Karan Johar. Like it was insane. But actually, this is a question that I think somebody asked us on Twitter, and I wanted to check with you, Amrita, because we've seen Kareena from the start, right? From the start, and the Kareena we have now is not the Kareena we had back in the day. Even on
Yeah.
Coffee with Karan, like she was not a good person. And now she's like, oh, I'm royalty and Begum Saiba and stuff like that. But that's not the Kareena we know. And I wanted to ask you, Amrita, when do you think that switch happened, and why do you think we have accepted that switch so easily from her? She was literally calling Bipasha Pasu Kali Billi. Like there's a lot of instances that she's like really bullied Priyanka.
It's funny because I have been thinking about Kareena as a Nepo star quite a bit actually with the Archies coming out. Um, because a lot of the people will be talking about like, oh, like, the Khushi and Suhana, like, and it's always the women, like, like nobody talks about Agastya, like nobody really cares about the boys. But for Khushi and Suhana, like a lot of people have been talking about like, oh, like, like they're not like very good, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's literally their first movie. Like, do you have any idea what people are like in their first movies? Like, I remember Refugee, and there was a long time, uh, and I remember Shah Rukh saying this to Alia during the Dear Zindagi promotions, where he was telling her something about trying things and failing and experimenting and then becoming better at your craft. And he was almost saying that she became too good too fast, because her second film was Highway, and then from there on she was just like up there. And I was just thinking that kids today, like especially Nepo kids today, they really don't have that leeway because everybody is just waiting for them to be terrible and write them off.
It's very
Everybody,
instantaneous. Like you don't
yes,
have the bandwidth. You have to
yeah,
be quite instantly within the frame of two movies. You have to be there,
yeah.
and yeah, because if you look at Karina's filmography, she did terrible movies after terrible movies.
So many. I think there was like the first 10 years of her career, she was just making terrible movie after terrible movie. But she was watchable. She had that it quality, like she would come on the screen and you would just be like, whoa, who's that? And she just traded on that for a very long time.
Even in
Um, I-
Refugee, she was the best part of that movie. I remember when the reviews came out because
uh-huh.
everybody had been banking on Abhishek to be the next big thing and kind of take the
Yeah.
this. And he looked so cool. Like, remember, like Abhishek when he came in, like he had the beard and the hair. He was going out with Charisma Kapoor, and he was cool as sliced bread or whatever you want to call it. He was the coolest guy ever. And then when you saw him act, it was like, oh my god, like this is not going really well. And Kareena was amazing. Like, remember that wedding song that they had in Refugee where they have
Yeah.
like their
Yeah.
Swagrat? She was amazing even then in it. So,
So
yeah.
I think I think we just got very used to being forgiving of Kareena because we just feel kindly towards stars. That's just the way it is. That's why like Salman, is in like 500 million police cases. He's accused of everything from like murder to poaching, and it doesn't matter. He's still the biggest star ever. It's why like people will forgive Dharmendra for, marrying another woman and like converting to Islam to like marry another woman while he's married, and, find a way to blame Hema Malini instead of Dharmendra. That's basically how the star system works.
Like even the
You,
Muslims forgave Dharmendra. Like,
yeah.
even we were like, oh sure, go ahead.
So, like, you can do things and get away with it when you're a star. And I think that's basically what Kareena is. And also, she didn't have to deal with social media back in the day. Yes, she was just badly behaved, but she was badly behaved in a way that was expected and celebrated, because you had film magazines like Stardust and stuff, where people would, if you didn't say something incendiary, then they would make it up and publish it. So a lot of the things that were attributed to Kareena, I don't even know if she actually gave those interviews, or whether like people just wrote those things because it sounded like something Kareena would say.
I mean, some of the things she actually said on Coffee with Karan, right? Sitting on the couch.
Sure,
Like, so we have audio
sure.
by. And the thing is also like, I mean, not to push back, but I feel people do on social media call out Salman. They call out Abhishek, like for how he hasn't, there's a lot of people like on his back. Nobody is on Kareena's back. Kareena is just like lovey dovey. Everybody loves her, queen of cinema. I don't know. Maybe I'm not on that side. I just don't see it at all. And I feel she gets like,
So when Kareena, like I don't agree actually, because when Temur was born and they named him Temur, I remember, like, I wasn't even in India at the time, but I remember the amount of hate she got for being married to a Muslim man and then having a child that was named Temur.
yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff that was said about her. And I think she and Seth did, like, they reacted and handled to that particular intense media frenzy in a very smart way by not reacting at all. They just continued to live their life exactly as they were living it. And they were like, they didn't like change their kid's name. They used to be like news shows about that kid's name, like,
Yeah.
how dare they call that child Temur, like it's an insult to Hindus. Like, I remember all that stuff. And then that was the stuff that I saw again surface during the promotions for Lal Singh Chadda, when Kareena, being Kareena, somebody was asking her, well, what do you think about the boycott campaign? And she was like, well, if people don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Like, fuck off. And a lot of people I know were pointing to that particular interview and talking about how she was arrogant. Look at the way that she talks about fans. And that's one of the reasons why Lal Singh Chadda was a flop. So she did get a lot of specific blowback that is centered around her private life, but it's not about her being a bitch.
Yeah, that's what
The
I mean. This is
Yeah.
just basic Islamophobia that everybody can be hit by, that I feel, but it's never about her being called out like constantly about the things she said. Or, I mean, I don't care, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that she is like queen and like seen as regal and no, she can't do anything wrong. But yeah, there's a lot of backstory there.
I think people just expect, because Kareena's always had that same. It's not like she was humble in the beginning and then she became queen bee.
No.
She literally, from the refugee days, she came on the scene even before refugee, when she was signed on to play opposite Hrithik in Kaho
Kaho
Na
Na
Pyar
Pyar
Hai,
Hai.
and,
Yeah.
and then she, like, walked out. Right from those days, she was like, I'm a star. You people are the mud people. And I don't care what you have to say or like what you think. And
Make the
I'm going to do
world fit to my view.
exactly.
Yeah.
So she's been the exact same person. She's been very authentically a bitchy person for 23 years. And so everybody's like, yeah, this is who Kareena is. Like nobody thought that she was Mother Teresa, and then suddenly, it, like Rani, for example, everybody thought was Bichari, and like kitni sweet hai, masoom hai, choti si hai, and then they saw her on these round tables and stuff for Film Companion, and they were like, oh my god, she's a clueless bitch, like what happened? And so there was like a huge, like, blowback. But for Kareena, everybody was like, yeah, if Kareena tomorrow turns out to be like a super nice, sweet person, everybody will be like, huh,
Huh?
what happened here? Yeah.
Can I also say I've interviewed Kareena and she is literally the nicest person. Like that I have met, like from celebrities, she is genuinely the nicest person. Like it's crazy. She makes you feel so good and so nice, and like it's those eyes. Whenever she's genuinely interested in what you're saying, it's really cool. Like she makes you like it's like star quality. Like people like underestimate how much she has. Like it's like bharpoor. Like it's crazy. Um, to finish it up, what did you think of the Varun and Siddharth episode? We actually moved
It
over
was
to
like I think they were both, walking on eggshells, trying to preserve whatever credibility they have in the film industry without spilling any rumors, because they come with the notion that Karan is out to get them. On one hand, they were both like, we are very thankful for you to have launched us in your first movie, and we have a career because of you, because you gave us such a star-studded launch like we could ever dream of. But also, you are here to, you're basically coming for us and we are not taking it. It felt like that. They were very much guarded, and they were
what
like,
was
Karan,
that?
Karan, why are you here making all these comments, trying to break our marriages? We are married now. Why are we going to go after women and all of that? It was like, it was really.
For me, this was the funniest episode. I was like, this was the best episode of the season. I was laughing so hard. But I just think like Varun's comedy is something that vibes with me. I was watching with my wife, and we'd actually gone to the Palestine march, so the day was quite heavy, like emotionally on us. And I was watching that episode. I was just laughing, and my wife was watching me, and she was saying like, "Is Varun dumb or is he just like really funny?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know if I've decided this. Like, I can't know." And it's really, yeah.
Let me tell your wife, Varun is dumb. That's basically what it is.
But
Let there be no doubt.
he's like a few of the jokes when like he was like Karan was like quite, I felt he was quite like hardcore, because he was basically telling all of India that Varun and Sid were sleeping with the costume departments while they were on My Name Is Khan, which I was
Yeah.
like, dude, like come on man, like that is
Yeah.
not done. So Varun dropped like just the name Willoughby, which was the Karan's driver, and that was like the funniest. Just the name Willoughby in that show, I was just cracking up. And then he asked like, "What do you do with your wife on the rapid?" Varun says boating. And it was just like, I was dead. Boating was the funniest thing I'd heard.
Yeah,
And
both of them were trying to give PG-13 answers mostly, so that like I'm damn sure both of them, like the first thought that came to their head wasn't boating, but Varun is trying to edit at the same point,
yeah.
and it's funny that's why it's funny.
And they were talking about like if Karan actually gets along with producers, and Varun says, "What about Guneet Mongia?" And obviously the name is Guneet Monga,
Monga.
but now I was like, "Oh, spirit animal!" Me and Varun, we cannot pronounce a name without
Yeah.
making it A, funny
Oh,
and wrong.
I remember one more thing, when Varun and Siddharth are like, we're gonna have revenge against Karan, and they ask him rapid questions, and he's like,
Yeah.
Varun asks to Karan, who do you consider your best friends in the industry? And Karan thinks, and Aditya Chopra and Shah Rukh Khan, and then he just blanks out. There is nobody else in the industry that he's the one who keeps on talking about, fraternity and everything. But after those two names, he just blanks out.
Yeah. So anyway,
I wonder how, like, I've been seeing, I don't know if the algorithm has been showing you guys this, but I've been seeing the algorithm show up various videos by total randoms across platforms talking about how Atlee and Shah Rukh are now like they're like family, you know.
Oh,
They're like Atlee like loves Shah Rukh, like he's named his kid after Shah Rukh's dad. Like they're like, you know, just like a unit. And I just wonder how like
Karan
Karan
is
Karan
was
feels.
taking the whole thing, because if I know Karan at all, oh, he's like he's not sleeping well at night, you guys. Like,
He calls him his son, even, no? Like I saw
yeah,
Anirudh
yeah,
also. He's very fond of it. Seems
yeah.
cool. Let's talk about some of the movies we watched. Amrita, shall we have our Mammootty section?
Yes, we have a Mammootty section today.
present.
You watched you watched Cardal the Core.
Kaathal the core, yes.
How was it? Just a silent answer correctly.
Asim is just like looking at me like, isn't that what I said?
This is not out on streaming yet, right? This is on theatrical.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
out in cinemas here in the UK, but it's only playing like in Ilford or Feltham,
Yeah.
and I can't make that trek.
Yeah, same here. I'm not up for it.
Yeah, it's directed by somebody called Geo Baby.
So Geo Baby is the guy who directed The Great Indian Kitchen. Did either of you watch that one?
I haven't yet.
I
I
haven't.
don't
No.
think it's streaming anywhere.
The great.
It is.
I'm
I think
watching
it's
for this.
on.
I'm waiting for the Sanya version. It's gonna come out soon.
So I think it's on Hotstar or something, Sujay. But Geo Baby, he's, I think, one of the most exciting new directors to watch out for in Malayalam cinema. If you watch The Great Indian Kitchen, it's a hard watch, but he is fantastic at like creating a world that feels incredibly lived in. And he's great at doing these tiny little character details that make it like elevate his cinema into something that seems like something that would happen to people that you know. So you see these characters on screen and you're like, well, this is not a movie. This is basically a documentary, except it stars like, you know, actors. Um, it's not there's a lot of things about this film that shouldn't work because the pacing is so it's so static, you know, like it starts from the very beginning where you there's like a long like credits that roll out, and they're playing this music, and the music is like very mellow, and it's almost like when you go to see a theater play, and you know the orchestra is playing and you're waiting for the curtains to go up. That's sort of like how it builds up, and then you sort of are landed in the middle of this family and this community, and this film has zero interest in filling in the blanks or spoon feeding you anything or telling you what's going on. You build up a picture of what is happening through context. So the basic story is I don't think I'm giving any spoilers when I say this, but the basic story is that there's a man played by Mammootty who is standing for a local election. And then suddenly news breaks that his wife has filed for divorce. And she has alleged that it's because he is homosexual and has been in a relationship with his best friend for like, you know, the entirety of their marriage. So that's the basic story. And one of the many amazing things about this film for me is that usually when we talk about gay stories, especially from like a Western perspective, which to a great extent is my perspective, we talk about it in very secular terms, right? Like we don't really talk about it in religious terms, because anytime we talk about it in religious terms, it's always hellfire and brimstone and about how, you know, gay people are going to hell. That's basically how it comes across. But in this film, these people are incredibly religious, and the film really drives that point home.
Amrita, sorry,
There are
which
like
religion are they playing in the movie?
so they're Roman Catholics
Okay,
in
okay.
this film. Yeah. So Geo Baby is Christian, and so like I don't know if he's Roman Catholic or not, but I know he's Christian. And so he, there's like this whole like repeated theme of Jyotika like praying in their home, and like just very simple, non-performative illustrations of how their faith is very much a deep part of their life, and what that means in this community. And it also is interesting because he belongs to a communist party, or like a leftist party. So, like the leftists have, at least in Kerala, they have, they're allied with progressive causes. So, like what does that mean in practice versus theory? So if they say that, like we stand for gay rights, and then they suddenly end up with a gay candidate when they didn't
Yeah.
know that they were nominating a gay candidate, and then they're just like, how do we make this work? And then there's this whole thing, like it's not preachy. In fact, it's really funny because there's this extended court scene where like the lawyers are making their arguments, and that part is a little bit preachy. But it's really funny because the opposing counsel is talking about like what it's like to be gay, and like what it might be like to be gay in India, etc. And the defending counsel like gets really fed up and turns to her and goes like, well, if you want to talk so much, then why don't you just say everything? Like, why are you like wasting my time? So it's not on the nose preachy kind of a thing, but it is very much like it's just a story about a modern India. That's what it is. And what it must be like to be middle aged and in a situation like that. And it was really, really nice. Like I quite enjoyed it. And also Mammootty, like yeah, like it seems like the bar is really low, but honestly, if you are in your 70s and you're like a giant star, and you're like, yeah, I'll play a gay man on screen, like, and I'll produce the movie even. Like,
Yeah.
this is like both Kannur squad and what's it called?
Kaathal.
This movie,
God.
Kadal, the core, and also like the Lijo Joe Pellissieri movie that came out last year. All of these are made by Mammootty Company, which is like Mammootty's new production house. So it's just insane the output that Mammootty's having.
Yeah. Yeah. So I watched Kannur Squad. Have you seen it, Amrita?
I have not yet, but I want
Right.
to.
So funnily enough, I was watching it. This was, I have to give a shout out to our friend of Twitter, Steve Unknown. He's the one that suggested I watch this movie. It came out in one of those theaters a bit far. I didn't want to go that far, but I knew when it comes on streaming, I will watch it. It landed on Disney Hotstar. And actually, I went to Disney Hotstar because I was going to watch Apurva, the Tara Sutaria movie, because I did not know that it was made by the same director that made Kill List, Hit List. What was that movie that came out in the train where they're punching up people where
Kill.
Lionsgate is
Just
it
kill.
called? Yeah, okay, that one. So apparently it's the same director. So I was like, okay, maybe I should check this out. But then I was like, I don't want to see violence against women for 3 hours. I was like out. So Kannur Squad was there in like 70 versions because it's Hotstar. So I was like, yeah, I'll watch this. And immediately when I put it on, I realized I have really not watched many Mammootty movies. Like of all of the Southern stars, superstars, his I have watched the least of. And I was like, wow, that's actually interesting that he just kind of like, escaped my radar. But from the first shot of him in this movie, you know why he is such a superstar. Like there is like, and it's literally he's in a jeep watching a suspect. That's it. It's like the wiper goes like this and like that, and you see Mammootty, and you're like, damn man, this guy is a star. And you all, having not seen any of his movies, all of the weight of his cinematic, prestige comes falling down on me in one shot. And I was like, wow, that is a star, right? Um, yeah, so it was just amazing. So this movie is based on a real story, and it's about the squad basically that comes in when the local police cannot handle a case. And I think what the movie is trying to tell us, that these are smarter guys. They'll use their investigative skills. They don't use guns, and they're basically smarter, and they won't let go unless, like, a local police force is more dealing with moving the case along, or being part of kind of political setup, that kind of thing. Like, these guys are beyond that. But what's interesting here is that it's also about, like, how the image of the south of India and the north of India is, and that I'd never seen in this way. And it's really really interesting, because they really explicitly say that, these are like, they treat us badly, like the people in the north treat us badly. Like, there's a moment where the cops are um, uh, basically, like, they've arrested these two criminals, and when they're walking out, like, the criminals are saying, look at these madrasis, they're harassing us, and, like, all of the crowd gets riled up because of that, and just calling them madrasis, that kind of thing, right? And there's a very impressive sequence where they have to do a siege in a village, and the village just, and they tell you, like, oh, the north in India, they just go and start making riots, and they start, like, setting fire to things, and you see it happen, like, and it is so impressive, like, the way that it's built up, because the rest of the movie is, like, calm, and, we're investigating, and, SIM cards and tracing people, and then it becomes this, like, really riot fight with, like, fire, and, like, this whole village attacking five people, and it's really really impressive. But on the other hand, it is also propaganda. Like, you cannot, like, me as a person that does not like the police force and would not trust them at all, this movie is propaganda. It does show, that they are good people and stuff like that. And the thing that I want to get back to, when we were talking about fascistic tendencies earlier, when we were talking about Animal, like, I've told you, these are smart cops. They don't use guns, they use investigation. But what they do use a lot is torture, and that just kind of, like, annoys the crap out of me. When, if you're setting it up that way, why are we then torturing, and why are we then also, at the end, the gun does come out, the violence does come out, the hitting people, all of that does come out, and that didn't sit really well with me. Like, if you are doing this, why is this? It just feels so hopeless, like, even if you use your brains, even if you use strategy, at the end of the day, these criminals will not listen. You have to, like, put needles up their fingernails, and it's like, that was not necessary. There's a assault on a minor girl, which is not, I was like, and it's done by a Muslim character, those things were kind of not sitting well with me. I do feel this is a movie that is, like, really made for a sequel. Like, it can become a series. Like, the squad goes to different places and, investigates things. But it is very very long. It's like a 2 hour 50 hour minute movie, and you feel the length that it takes to get to the point. And with the point then just being violence and massy action. And also, like you said, Mammootty is 70, right? So he has that elder statesman kind of position in the movie, and it's hard to then do, like, a fight scene in a forest when you're fighting these very young men, so. And it's also funny because obviously it's Mammootty, he's a legend. So then also there's a bit of meta quality where even the antagonists and the people around him in the movie are also treating him like a legend or a superstar, right? So it's kind of like even those meta aspects are in there when it doesn't necessarily need it in this movie. But overall, I thought it was a good movie. It is very, very long though, so I don't know if I can fully wholeheartedly, recommend it to somebody like Sujoy, who I know notoriously falls asleep and checks his phone. But if you can get over that, I do think it's quite a good movie, and I'm glad I watched it.
So Mammootty he actually does have a cop series. It's I think the first one was called Oru CBI Diary Kurupu, but in which he basically goes about investigating murders, and he works for the CBI, and it's really interesting because a lot of those murders were based on real life murders, like sensational celebrity murders and stuff, which was like unheard of in Malayalam cinema, at least. But talking about his star quality and like what he brings to the table in terms of experience, like in Kaathal, there is a scene towards the end where he has come to the end of his tether and he relaxes. And until that point, I was not aware as a viewer just how tight his body language was, you know? So that entire first half of the film goes by, and it wasn't until towards the end of the second half, where he relaxes and he says, well, I don't have to worry about anything any longer. And he sort of exhales, that you realize just how much he's been controlling his body language. And that is the kind of small things that Mammootty brings to the table. And this is not like Kannur squad. It's not like it's not like a superstar turn. It's very much character work. And Mammootty is just really good in stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you interested in either of those?
Yeah, both of them. But maybe Kannur Squad, I would probably watch it like a mini series, like 45 minutes daily or something.
Yeah. And the thing is, I watched it in parts because I literally could not free up that much time during the week to watch it. So I watched it and a lot of times what happens is when I break up a movie, I just sometimes don't get back to it, right? But this, because the story was so engaging, I really wanted to know how they were gonna, figure this out. That I did finish it. So I think it could actually work as a series, and it actually could spin off as kind of a show even. I thought the character and the setup was very engaging in that. So you watched something, but I don't know if you want to talk about Jigar Thanda XX. Do you?
Oh no! I mean, Jigar Thanda XX. I went to the cinema, and within the first 10 minutes, because the cinema was quite warm and it was quite cold outside, I fell asleep, and so I had to leave, man, because I started snoring. I started snoring so loudly that I woke myself up. It was embarrassing.
My dear Lord.
This is another example of North Indians treating us Madrasis really badly.
This is
We go to our movies.
Man, this is like buying a ticket and just sleeping in the thing because you don't have a tent, and Suela Braverman has kicked you out.
Yeah.
So you didn't catch any of Jigar Thanda?
No, unfortunately not. But I'm definitely interested to watch it again. Probably, I don't think it's playing anywhere anymore. So probably when it drops on streaming, I'll be definitely watching it because I heard really good things about it, a lot of praise, and I actually quite liked the first movie as well. I think this is a prequel.
I've never watched it. Should I?
I think so. Yeah, it's a fun movie, and you like Siddharth, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you watch Bachchan Pandey, so it's way better than that.
Yeah. Like our friend Yamini was talking about Kathy. I know we were talking about something, and she was recommending it. It's either that is still good. So I started watching it, and I was like, "Wait, this is Bhola. I've seen this movie already." And I was like, "Bollywood, stop ruining movies for me!" And now I've seen it, and I couldn't watch Kathi because I've seen the shitty version of it now already. So I was like, maybe Jigar Thanda is going to be the same thing. Yeah. But is it the same actors in the new one? Is it?
No.
It's a prequel, right?
Yeah, it's a prequel. I don't think it's like there are some crossovers, but it's not necessarily the same characters at all.
Right. And you watch also the first episode of Railwayman, if you want to maybe recommend, no recommend, like what is it?
I'll continue to watch it. But obviously it's based on the 1984. Was it 84? And the Bhopal gas tragedy, and like it's such a big tragedy on the in the history of India. So the subject matter, the themes that are being dealt with are quite disturbing and heavy. So I am trying to watch it, but I'm not going to binge watch it. I'm definitely excited that KK Menon, anything that KK Menon does, I'm quite excited about, even Drona. But yeah, I'll continue to watch it. I've finished episode 1, which basically stops at 00 hours. The gas leak has just happened, and then the aftermath and all that the people have to deal with is going to start in the next. I think it's just 4 episodes. It's like a mini series, I think. So I'm gonna continue watching it. I'm not sure if you would be interested to watch this. It will be like quite difficult to watch. I would assume.
I don't think I have any interest in this. The big thing about this is Yash Raj's first collaboration with Netflix, where they're making their first original series for them. And I mean, nothing for me here to latch on to. I feel I don't know. Amrita.
I'm not really interested in the Railwayman per se, but I do have fond memories of the last time Yash Raj ventured into TV. I don't know if you remember,
Sony.
but yes, on Sony. And it was like pretty good. Like there was one that was like a sort of like spy, then very early version of the Spyverse. And then there was this one about this woman who was like overweight and dating. And all of those were like really like well written and well performed, and therefore, of course, they were like a huge flop because everybody just wanted Komolika, like in India at the time. So I'm very glad that YRF are actually getting back. Making series.
Speaking of Komolika, I just remembered Varun called Karan Johar Komolika on Coffee with Karan. Which is hilarious. First he told
somebody showed me a video with like Karan Johar's face transposed on like Komolika.
Yeah.
It was so disturbing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my mind.
Chalo, I think this is it for this episode. Let's wrap up. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at Amrita IQ.
Sujoy?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky at 93K. And you can follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to TikTok, actually. Follow us there. I know a lot of people are there, and we're posting a lot of reels there. So that's always fun. And drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. Join our Patreon. That's the way you can support us. That's the way you can see us grow. And next episode is going to be Raja Hindustani. God.
If only you could see Amrita's face as Asim said Raja Hindustani.
Dear Lord, it's gonna be a whopper. Okay, guys, we'll see you soon.
Khandaan Podcast on the Epping.